Hey guys, my name is Nick from Nick Cheadle Fitness, and this is going to be my first video Q&A. Okay, got a few questions on Facebook last night, so I'm going to do my best to answer them as best as I can, and hopefully give you a little bit of insight into what you want to know. Okay, so first question that I got was from Tim Rowland. Can you please clarify your opinion on clean eating, and how much protein do you recommend when trying to put on muscle mass during a bulk for natural resistance trained athletes? First off, mate, funny man, I think it's pretty clear what my views on clean eating are. Feel free to check out my blog on my website if you missed that. But when looking at bulk, typically what I recommend is about 1.3 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. Typically speaking, a mesomorph would be sort of at the lower end of that scale, with an ectomorph being at the higher end. And if you fit that endomorph category, maybe somewhere in between. Just make sure that when you do sort of change track and start to diet, that you do increase that protein intake a little bit, just because it is a fairly thermogenic macronutrient, and it does help with sparing muscle tissue when in a deficit. Okay. Dean Stacey, how effective are products like Albuterex and other cutting agents? I'm wanting to drop 2% body fat over the summer and get down to around 7%. Will these products do more harm than good, or are they beneficial? Okay, first off, most supplements are going to give you around sort of a little 1 to 2% increase in performance, possibly, provided that everything is actually on track before that. Okay, so my best piece of advice for you, mate, would be to make sure your nutrition is on point, make sure that you are in a deficit, obviously keep training hard, and just decrease your intake a little bit, just to make sure that you are burning body fat. Taking Albuterex will, hopefully help that. Typically most thermogenics help with increasing core body temperature and the amount of calories that you're burning. So if you can eat properly and take the supplements, then I'm sure that that 2% will be no problems, mate. George Geekus Rensos, how long is too long when training? When I do chest and back, sometimes I go for almost 2 hours. Am I doing something wrong? First off, mate, to be honest, I don't really believe in overtraining. I don't think there's any point in training for a specific amount of time just to train for time. But basically, as long as your nutrition is on point, I really don't see too much harm in training for 2 hours. If you're really worried, you could look at maybe introducing some BCAAs intra-workout, or even some carbs whilst you train. But provided that you're eating enough and you're resting enough, getting enough sleep, I really wouldn't worry too much about a 2-hour session. Just make sure you aren't overtraining purely for the sake of overtraining. Make sure you do a really good, efficient workout. Do what you need to do. Get a good pump, and then get out. Don't keep training just for the sake of training. Try and be efficient, and the gains will come. Okay, sorry, just scrolling down a little bit. Lindsay Ware, when I'm looking to increase muscle mass, is it best not to superset compound exercises? For example, chest press with bent over rows. I read it increases the recovery time between sets and makes it less effective when building mass. Okay. With this one, that's definitely not the case. I'm a big fan of supersets, and one of the advantages of supersetting 2 alternating muscle groups is that you can tend to get a bit more of an efficient workout in, just because time-wise, while you're performing one exercise, you can let the alternating muscle group that you're training relax, or recover rather, whilst you're training the other one. So essentially, while you're doing your chest press, your back is resting from the rows, and vice versa. So you can get sort of twice the exercises in half the time, or however you like to look at it. But it definitely doesn't hinder gains, not at all. In that way, you can actually decrease your rest periods by supersetting. But it's definitely not best to not superset them. It's a great method of training, and if it works for you, then absolutely go for it. Personally, I prefer to train my back then my chest when I do train them in the same session together, just because I prefer to get a really good pump going in the one muscle group before moving on. But as I said, each to their own. I think training, there's a lot of different training principles, and everybody's gonna, sort of move towards one type of training. So if there's a type of training that you enjoy more, definitely go for that. Definitely go for that. If you enjoy the supersets, keep them up. Keep them up. Okay, Kayla Herrera. In your opinion, should women stop spending more than 30 minutes on a treadmill for fat loss and do more exercises that involve weights for a more effective workout? Kayla, I just posted a status today in regards to that very question. Typically, in my experience, the sort of slow to moderate intensity cardio is really great initially. People see really good results, particularly when they've got their nutrition in check. Really great results initially, but then steady state cardio is one of those things that the body adapts to and then begins to rely on. So after a little while, you may find that your steady state cardio isn't actually having any more of an effect than it was. That being said, I definitely recommend basing the majority of your training around resistance training. Not only will it be a far more effective workout in terms of building muscle, potentially burning fat, burning calories. Think of it this way: the more muscle that you have, the more food you can eat, and that is, the happiest of problems. Definitely look at getting some more weights into your routine, and if you do want to stick with some cardio, I definitely recommend high intensity interval training. If you're not familiar with it, look into it. It is the most optimal approach to cardio in terms of long-term fat loss. Okay, definitely recommend it. Pretty much the only form of cardio that I recommend for my clients, unless we're looking at the latter stages of comp prep. High intensity interval training, lift heavy, lift hard, you'll be sweet. Okay, last one, Shane McKenna. You eat 2 Mars bars at the servo. How do you change your daily meal plan to accommodate what you have just eaten? Well, mate, I am a big believer in flexible dieting, as I have more than mentioned in the past. Typically, with my days, I just sort of add my food into my diary as I go. So if I happen to eat 2 Mars bars at the servo, they'll go into my Fitness Pal, which is the application that I use on my phone. And then from there, I will just eat accordingly throughout the day. Obviously, have to possibly lower my carbs or fats later on in the day, mate. Very easy one. Guys, thanks for asking the questions. Feel free to post anything on the wall or check out my website. If you do have any questions, just get in touch. Have a good day, guys. Cheers.